Hi there, Peter Brock here from BRE, that's Brock Racing Enterprises. And I want to tell you a little bit about our history with Nissan Motor Corporation, which at that time was called Datsun. And again, this is one of the great stories in motor racing, is that Nissan had never been involved in any motorsport. And of course, we started out with the 2000 Roadster, and at that time, in 1969, Porsche and Triumph were the main contenders for the C Production and D Production Championships on SCCA road racing. So we came out of nowhere with the Datsuns and won the championship in 1969 with Frank Monise, one of the great drivers. I think he probably won more SCCA races than any other driver in SCCA history. And of course, the success of this program here was so surprising even to Nissan, because they didn't think that they had a successful race car. But we made it one. We had some really great guys on the BRE team, headed up by Art Early, who developed the engine and gave us enough horsepower to overcome and beat the Porsches, the 914, 1914 6s, and the TR7s and stuff. So that development was so successful that Mr. Katayama, who was then the president of Nissan Motor Corporation on the West Coast in California, invited me up to the office and actually laid out a photograph and said, "These are the cars I want you to race in the next years." So we started in 1970 running the 240Z. It was the very first time that the Z cars had been run on the west coast of the United States. Of course, Bob Sharp ran the cars on the east coast, because at that time Datsun was divided into two separate companies, East Coast and West Coast. So Bob Sharp was very successful on the East Coast with the Bob Sharp racing car, 240Zs. And of course, we were running on the West Coast with the BRE cars. And then we had a really great shoot up down at Road Atlanta, and we ended up winning the World Championship, or the SCCA C Production Championship in 1970 and 71. And that program was so successful that I explained to Mr. Katayama that it was just really not of any more value for us to continue running the cars, because they couldn't build enough cars for the American market at that point. They were so successful that you had to wait months to get a 240Z. So I suggested what we should do is start running the 510 sedans at that point. And that was a complete surprise to Mr. Katayama, because he'd always considered that just their little economy car. But we turned it into a great race car, because the basic engineering underneath the car was really of a very superior manner. And we developed this car and ran a factory back team against the Alfa Romeos and the BMWs in the TransAM series in 1971 and 72, and won both of those championships. Again, with John Morton in this car, and of course our first year with Frank Monise. So that's kind of the history of our success with the BRE and Nissan. So great poster showing all three cars